Welcome to Sakshi TV's special immigration talk show. I'm your host, Shivani Raj. For today's show, we have Mr. Chand Parvathaneni, Managing Attorney from Sim Parvathaneni and Brown. Sakshi TV now has 4 immigration shows every week. On Tuesdays with lawyer Srinivas Kaveti, on Wednesdays with Prashanti Reddy in English, on Thursdays with Chand Parvathaneni, and on Fridays with Banu in Hindi. Please tune in to ask your questions. If you are an immigration attorney and would like to join our special shows, please email us at usa@sakshi.com or call us at 866-725. Before we begin the show, please know that the information provided on the show is not legal advice and for general informational purposes only. Sakshi TV or its agents will not be responsible for the use of information. If you need any specific legal advice, you can contact the attorney directly. Mr. Chan needs no introduction, but if you need consultation, you can definitely log on to their firm, which is spblgrowfirm.com site. It provides a lot of information about laws and U.S. immigration policies that you do not have to be a lawyer to understand. When you consult them, please don't forget to mention Sakshi TV. So without any further delay, let's welcome Mr. Parvathaneni on our show. Welcome back, Changaru. How are you?
Hello, Shivani, and thank you so much, Shivani, and thank you all, everybody from Sakshi, watching Sakshi TV today.
Yes. Thank you again, Parvathaneni Garu, for tuning in. It's always a pleasure of us to have you. But before we get onto the topic today, are there any latest immigration updates that we have to know?
Sure. So actually, last week, there was a lot of chaos. There was a news article from USCIS, and it was talking about fraud in H1B. And it was a major news last week, recently, last week of April. And USCIS was talking about a lot of companies colluding together and committed some fraud. And we'll talk more about it in today's show, but that was one very big news. And that being said, a lot of companies have also started their H1B filings. So the H1B filings, the CAP filings for the first time H1B petitions, that started on April 1st, and the deadline is June 30th. So those filings have also started, and people have been applying in full swing. And we also started seeing approvals for those new H1B CAP cases. So that's another an update. And on the employment-based green card side, there is not much progress on the green card side. Indians, unfortunately, the dates are retrogressed back. Both the EB2 and EB3 categories, both of them, the dates went back, and things are not moving very fast on the green card side. So last year and the year before that, at a similar point of time in the month of May, things were very quick. A lot of people were getting green cards, but unfortunately this year, the green cards have really slowed down for Indian nationals, and the picture doesn't look too good. And hopefully after October, when the new green card numbers are released again, hopefully things will move faster. But right now, things don't look too good, at least until October's bulletin. So that's probably a summary of everything that's going on the employment-based immigration side.
Yes. Also, for today's topic, we are going to be talking about the multiple registration frauds that are happening by the employers for the H1B lottery, Mr. Parvathaneni. So recently, USCIS has announced that there are multiple applications. The same employer is applying multiple times. What exactly is the issue with the multiple registration that USCIS has recently said?
Sure. So the way the process works is every company applies for their employees. And so what has been happening is if the same employee gets a filing done in multiple companies, what happens is now they have more registrations for the same employee. So the chance in the lottery shoots up. So the more registrations, the more is the chance of the employee getting picked up in the lottery. And what that also means is that is unfairly causing somebody else to lose out their chance. So that is like the summary of the issue. And what has happened is USCIS looked at the data from March. So March is when everybody filed the registrations. So USCIS looked at the data, and last week of April, what they did is they released the data. And the data showed some really concerning things. So they received 780,000 registrations. So almost 7.8 lakhs applications. How many do we have? We only have 85,000 slots for H1Bs. So for 85,000 slots, they received almost 7.8 lakhs, 780,000 applications, registrations. So that is one part. And the next part is they gave some more interesting data. So what they said is out of these 780,000 registrations, 408,000 registrations, that is 4.8 lakh registrations, which is more than 50% of the actual registrations. These are multiple filings. So what multiple filings means is two or three companies, they're probably applying for the same guy, the same employee, same beneficiary. So the same employee is having multiple registrations done. So when they said they got 780,000 registrations, it does not mean that 780,000 different people got their registrations done. The same set of people are getting multiple registrations done. And that is what USCIS has found in their data. And so basically, there are certain scenarios where that could be legal. Say, for example, an employee has an offer from Microsoft and Google, and both the companies are filing for that employee. That is legal. That is not illegal. But however, it doesn't look like that is what is happening. So what is happening is two or three companies, they are talking to each other. They're colluding with each other. And they're saying, hey, let's apply for the same guy in your company, in my company, in your company. And once the lottery is over, because now we are applying more times, we have more chance of getting a selection. And in the future, say this person gets selected in multiple places, only one employer is going to file their case because there is only one real job. But these multiple companies, they are trying to file for the employee just to increase the chances. And eventually there is only one job. So only one employer is going to file for the job. So this kind of a collusion is nothing but it is basically cheating the lottery. So somebody is trying to apply for the same person multiple times in multiple companies and making it look like it's a real job when there is no real job. There is only one real job. And these multiple companies, they have talked to each other and they're colluding with each other and trying to game the lottery. So all that's happening is they're gaming the lottery. And that is nothing but that is upfront illegal. And what USCIS has said is, because I think they're concerned, because this happened last year, this is happening this year, and the entire process is failing. So USCIS is clearly stating, because USCIS cannot go and arrest anybody. The USCIS as a body, this is not the enforcement agency. USCIS cannot go and start arresting people. So what they're saying is, we are going to refer this issue for criminal prosecution to the right authorities. So now, the right authorities, Department of Justice is going to get involved, the ICE is going to get involved, and they will start criminal prosecutions. And what that means is potentially some people might get arrested where there is clear-cut evidence that somebody is trying to game the lottery and they have colluded with other companies to increase somebody's chances in the lottery. So that is pretty much what is happening, because when the employer is submitting a registration, they are clearly attesting to the government that they really require that employee for their bona fide job. So they're making some attestations, and clearly, in reality, what is happening is they're gaming the system. They are trying to get some unfair advantage at the cost of somebody else who's following the rules. Now they're losing out their chance. So this entire thing has become a big mess. And last week's notification is basically a warning from USCIS that, yes, they are going after the companies, and they are referring them for criminal prosecution. And what we expect to say is criminal prosecutions more than likely will start in the next few days, few weeks, because they have the data. End of the day, this is an electronic registration process, and it is very easy to find commonality and where people colluded because the data is very, very clear. And that is pretty much what is the news in the last few days, and the mess that has happened because of this collusion.
Yes. So, Mr. Parvathaneni, what kind of changes or what kind of issues that have been coming? How are they being resolved right now by the USCIS, and how are they able to tackle it?
Sure. So USCIS, they actually identified this issue in last year's lottery itself. So last year, 2022, March, when the lottery happened. So people have done this, and USCIS has identified this issue, and they actually started proactively going after people. However, they did not start criminal prosecutions, but what they have done is, starting from say last October, November, they actually started issuing this notice of intent to revoke or notice of intent to deny kind of notices. So in those notices, they clearly said, look, this company and this company, you have colluded, and we think you have colluded because of so and so reasons. And they have started giving these notices since at least last October. And they have been telling people, look, this is what is happening. This is not permitted. This is upfront. It is fraud. This is misrepresentation. You are making a false attestation under perjury of penalty. And they have been actually denying cases. They actually have been revoking H1s based on this issue. So they have put people on enough notice, and they have tried to resolve this issue using notice of intent to revoke or notice of intent to deny. However, what looks like happening is people are not really paying attention, or people are ignoring those notices. So USCIS decided to actually recommend those for criminal prosecution. So USCIS has actually already been taking enough steps to eliminate this problem. And now they're going to the extreme step of actually prosecuting people. So they're referring for criminal prosecution, which basically means some people are going to get arrested. That's basically what it means. When they say they're recommending criminal prosecution, what they're saying is the appropriate authorities, probably Department of Justice, they're going to file charges and they're going to arrest some people. So that is what is happening. And the key issue that they're pointing out is collusion. So if two independent companies, they have independent bona fide job offers and they are filing it, they are not worried. They're not saying that is illegal. All they're saying is some companies, they're either related, either the husband and wife owning the same company. So to give you an example, so what exactly is collusion? Collusion comes in different forms. For example, you have two companies, and say one company is owned by one person, and the second company is owned by a relative of the first company. For example, maybe the wife, maybe the brother-in-law, maybe the sister-in-law. So when two companies are owned by two parties who are related through some family relationship, that's a relationship they're looking at. And if those two companies are filing for the same person, they're actually looking closer into those kind of applications. And next part is collusion. Say if the companies are not related through relationship, but say they're colluding. And what that means is, say company A is applying for 100 people, and they're giving their employees to another company B, and they're saying, hey, can you please apply for my employees? And if they get picked up in the lottery, let's share the revenue or something of that sort. They're having some kind of a collusion, even though they're not technically related. Maybe they are in different cities. Maybe they're using different attorneys. It doesn't matter. But there is some kind of a collusion where they are coming into a secret agreement where they are saying, hey, look, let us apply. Let you also apply. And if somebody gets selected in the lottery, let's split the profits. Something of that sort. So there is some kind of a collusion happening. So these are the kind of things that the USCIS is looking for. And based on the data, it is very easy for them to tell. For example, we had a case where they clearly said, look, you applied for, your company applied for 230 employees. This other company also applied, and we are seeing more than 200 of the employees match. So clearly, this other company and you are applying for the same set of people. So clearly, there is some kind of a collusion happening. So there are multiple ways for USCIS to find out fraud, and they have very, very good systems. They have very good computer systems. They are spending a lot on technology. So if there is some kind of collusion happening, more than likely they have the data and they are finding it out. And they are actively pursuing to eliminate this. And what also looks like happening is more than likely next year, they are going to make some major changes in the process. Maybe they're going to increase the fees. So they are actually considering a lot of things. And clearly some people gaming the system seems to be impacting the rest of the folks.
Yes. So let's talk about the companies that have already filed for their registrations. But, now that there are so many changes in the USCIS, what must they be doing for the H1B lottery?
Right. So a lot of companies, actually, they're coming to us in the last 1 week, and they are kind of hinting that they have colluded. And once they have colluded, the thing is, it doesn't matter what they do in the future. They have already done it's a criminal act. So they've already done some kind of a crime. In case they have some kind of a collusion and they have tried to game the system. So if somebody has tried to game the system, they filed the registrations in the month of March, the crime has already happened. So the fact is that a crime has already happened, and what is it that they can do? So those companies, this is what we're telling those companies. If that kind of the mistake that USCIS is saying should not be done, if you have done that mistake, you have, so what has happened, you cannot undo it. But this is something what you can do. And that is basically not going ahead with the filing. So because the lottery is over, they have selections. Now they have lottery selections. So the next step technically is go and file the case with USCIS. What we're telling is, if you have got a lottery selection through fraud, through the fraud that USCIS is saying people should not do not go ahead with the next step and do not file the H1B case, because you cannot further the crime. So what has happened, but at least stop where you are and do not file that H1B. And we recommend that if the company has done some kind of a fraud, even if the lottery even if their registration got selected in the lottery, it's a good idea to stop right now and do not commit further crimes. So basically, they have to stop their process and do not file that H1B and stop at that point. That is pretty much what we are recommending.
Yes. So let's just talk a little bit about the consequences, Mr. Parvathaneni. I think you did mention it, but now we're also hearing that it's not just a immigration crime that you're doing. It's actually like a federal, and you'll have civil charges happening. Is that actually true?
Right. So the thing is, so when somebody is dealing with the government, there is something called perjury. The rule is you cannot lie to the US government. Not only US government, any government officer, any government official, you cannot lie to them, especially not under oath. And when the H1B registration is done, they are making some statements under oath. So anybody that is involved in the process, that is signing on the petitions, they are making an attestation under oath. And what that means is a lie under oath, it's a crime of perjury, number one. And in this case, there is also a crime of fraud. There is a crime of misrepresentation. And these crimes have criminal consequences. So technically what could happen is Department of Justice, they can decide to pursue charges. And the crime has, it's a federal crime. And the federal crime has like a max penalty. So what theoretically could happen is the charges could be filed and the government could be asking for a max sentence. So that's a potential thing that we could see in the future. And what that means is, again, everybody's fact patterns are different. What exactly happened and what is the severity of the crime? And what is the crime's impact on the process? So as a whole would determine the outcome. So the final outcome could be probably a lot different. But again, in terms of the reality, it's that misrepresentation, that somebody has misrepresented to the government. That is pretty much the crime. And the charges will be pretty much for misrepresenting to the government, lying under oath to the government. And that is pretty much the criminal act. And whatever are the penalties for that particular crime, that is what pretty much DOJ would be asking in this scenario.
Yes. So, Mr. Parvathaneni, let's say that someone's lottery was picked up who were actually genuine, or who were actually selected for their good everything. So let's say that their lotteries have been picked up and did not actually file for their H1B petitions. Will the USCIS still come and investigate them?
So the reality is that the day the registration was done, so what has happened is, if somebody's case was incorrectly filed, say due to this collusion, the very fact that a registration was filed, it messed up somebody else's chances. So somebody else who was following the rules, now their chances got messed up because now they are losing out. So what that means is, theoretically, even if they do nothing at this point of time, even if they do not file the H1B, theoretically, USCIS can come back and say, in the month of March, you did this thing. So that it could happen. But again, at least the fact that somebody will not go ahead and they're stopping right now would at least decrease their chances of at least being in a more worse off position. That being said, if somebody, the company, if they have not done anything wrong, there is no collusion and their filing is accurate, their representation is accurate, there is nothing to worry. Because the question that we are getting is, look, I have done a registration and I really have a job, but without telling me, this employee went to another employer and he also accepted their job. Now, will I have any issue? Will I be in trouble if I file this case? Because the employee has multiple registrations, but I am not a part of that multiple registration. I just filed because I have a job for that employee. So in those cases, the company has not done anything wrong, even if the employee had multiple registrations. Because if, say, the employee has offer from Microsoft and Google, and those offers are legitimate, there is nothing wrong at all. So if the employer is not the one that is colluding and their job offer is legitimate and bona fide, there is nothing wrong. They should go ahead and file their case, because whatever their attestation is accurate, and they should not have any problem. Okay, so the whole thing is, if just because an employee has two job offers, which are even though it is a multiple registration, that might not be an issue, as long as both the companies are completely independent. Those companies did not work with each other, and both the jobs are bona fide job offers.
Yes. So with that, Mr. Parvathaneni, do you expect that there'll be a second lottery coming up even after the announcement that the USCIS has made?
I definitely think there is a very good chance of a second lottery this year. And the reason for that is, because we looked at the data that USCIS released last week, and they are clearly saying there is a lot of fraud based on the data that they have. And more than 400,000 registrations, they're clearly saying there are multiple registrations. And they're clearly saying that with the data they have, they're clearly finding collusion. And what that means is, at least the good thing is USCIS announced this last week. And because of this big public announcement, at least even if people have done something wrong, now they're taking a step back because of this big public announcement, and because of USCIS threatening them with consequences. At least now people, whoever, at least if somebody has done something wrong, at least now is a good time for them to take a step back and at least follow the rules, at least now. And what this means is, based on USCIS's data, there are a lot of bad actors. And at least now, if these bad actors, because of this USCIS announcement, which will definitely act as a deterrent, if those guys take a step back, what that means is a lot of filings are not going to get filed. And what that means is, because many of these fraudulent filings will now stop, now USCIS will definitely have to fill that slots. So there is a good chance that USCIS might do a second lottery. And assuming whatever USCIS is stating about collusion is true, that most of the cases they are seeing fraud, what that could mean is there is a good chance of a second lottery, because we were really hoping that people have at least have some sense now, and if they have committed fraud in the past, at least they awake now, they wake up now, and then they don't file those cases, the bad cases where they got a selection through fraud. If they stop from filing, hopefully at least USCIS will use those free slots to pick up the genuine registrations.
Yes. So, Mr. Parvathaneni, have you seen any new people already started filing? And also, did you see any approvals for the new H1B lottery cases already?
Sure. So in our law firm, we already started filing actively from last month, and we have seen multiple approvals. So in terms of the USCIS process as a whole, their process is still the same. If a company has a legitimate and a bona fide job offer, and if the employee is well qualified, they want to encourage people to come and work in US. So in terms of the new cap filings, the H1B will start from October 2023, and USCIS has already started approving cases. So all the genuine cases, we are already filing cases, and USCIS, if they're satisfied with the employer's credentials, if they're satisfied with the employee's educational qualifications, they are already approving cases. We have seen multiple approvals for the new lottery cases. So that being said, what that means to all is, if the company is legitimate, if somebody has not colluded for multiple registrations, people should actively file for the cases, because there is a deadline. So theoretically, June 30th is the deadline, but we recommend and we encourage people to finish their filings at least by May 30th. So all those cases that are clean and employers are genuine employers, it's a good idea to finish up the filings before end of May. And June should only be used for those last minute cases. The reason being, at the last minute, USCIS is going to take a long time to issue the receipt because everybody is filing at the last minute. They almost take a month to issue the receipts. So any cases that are going out in the month of June, they can expect USCIS to take a very long time to issue a receipt. And sometimes packages can get lost in the mail. So FedEx can lose a package. So you will not have time to react if you file too late. But if you file in the month of May, at least by end of May, if something goes wrong, you can always recover and you can refile before the deadline. So June 30th is the deadline. And people should not be waiting until the last minute, and people should complete their filings. And again, if there is something wrong with the registrations, those people should not file. Those people should take a step back and not go ahead with the process.
Yes. So, Mr. Parvathaneni, my final question to you is, what are some precautions that people must take? Because now that you just said that, it can come under civil rights, it's actually a civil, crime that people are doing. Are there any final suggestions that you want to say to the viewers watching the show? Because you yourself are an attorney and you know more than anybody the consequences that they will have to face. So anything that you want to say finally?
Sure. So the main thing is when the employees are going and finding their employers to sponsor their H1, I think it's a good idea that they look at the company's prior history. They look at the bona fide nature of the company. I think what's happening is we do see some bad actors making a mess for everybody else, because majority of the people, majority of the companies, they want to do it right. Because H1Bs, the salary is very high. So if the company is paying such a high salary, they're paying a high salary, they are paying a lot in taxes. So majority of the companies, they don't want to do any kind of a fraud. They want to act within the system. That being said, unfortunately, there are a lot of bad actors, and those bad actors are giving the entire industry. They're giving the entire H1B process, the entire, even the Indian community, and everybody that is trying to work hard and follow the rules, they're giving them a bad name. And the majority is not bad. It is that very small minority who is doing things in a very large scale that is causing this issue. And what that means is people should always do their own research. They should ask for referrals and don't work with companies that are fraudulent. And same thing with the employers. Employers, unfortunately, are sometimes when they work with their employees, the employees do a lot of things on the employer's back. For example, they talk to an employer and say, we accept your job. And behind the back, they go and they're accepting multiple employers' offers, and they're having these multiple employers file the registrations. And that is not only causing a problem to the industry as a whole, it is impacting everybody else. So there are people who are genuinely well qualified, wanting to work in the country. But the people, because they're approaching multiple employers and having multiple employers give them a job offer and file their registrations, they are spoiling the chances for other people. So people should always, ethically, they should accept one job offer and they should reject the other job offers. So they should not go behind the backs of employers and accept 10 different job offers and make 10 different employers file for them. Because in the end, when USCIS is looking at the data, it's going to make the entire program look bad. And the program is a very successful program that has helped US a lot. This entire H1B program, it has helped various individuals contribute to the US economy. And what that means is everybody working in this field should try to make sure this program is successful. And what that means is do not work with shady people. There are shady employers, there are shady employees. So there are shady people on both sides. What that means is always do your research and get referrals and work with an employer only if that employer is genuine. Same thing. If you get an employee, make sure the employee is not only well qualified, but also looking at their history. If they're jumping jobs very often, it probably means that they're not stable people. So always look at the profile, do your recruiting proper. The company should do the recruiting properly. And the employers also should make sure they're not working with any random company, but only a good company that has some reputation in the industry. So doing so, everybody is going to keep the sanctity of the industry as a whole. And we want this program to be successful long term, because this industry is good for both everybody involved, employers, employees, and even to the US government as a whole, because this is a very valuable program to US.
Yes. Sure. Thank you again, Mr. Parvathaneni, for tuning in. We had such a great show. Thank you again to the viewers for tuning in. You're watching Sakshi TV with me, Shivani Raj.
Thank you.